Welcome to the Rialto Marketing Podcast. Today's episode is a revenue acceleration series interview where we talk to seven-figure B2B service firm owners who are actively trying to grow their business and get to the next level. We talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly so that you can learn from their experience. I am Tim Fitzpatrick with Rialto Marketing, where we believe you must remove your revenue roadblocks if you want to accelerate growth, and that marketing shouldn't be difficult. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. I am super excited to have Dan Hernandez from PCS Technology with me today. Dan, welcome and thanks for being here.
Great. Thanks, Tim. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to dig into this with you. Before we jump into kind of the heart of our conversation today, I want to ask you a few rapid fire questions. Are you ready to jump in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So very quickly, what do you do? How long have you been doing it?
I'm the CEO of PCS Technologies in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I've been doing this for 35 plus years. It's been a lifelong journey to be in IT. When I first started, it was data processing. So this has been my only job my entire life, and I thrive on technology. It's just constantly learning and having the opportunity to help people with their businesses.
Man, 35 years in tech, you've seen a lot of changes.
Absolutely.
Oh God. So in that 35 years, what's the most important lesson you've learned?
I think the most important lesson I've learned is to really build a team. I've been able to build a team around me that is, in my opinion, best in class as far as having service, technical leaders, and then also the admin staff, et cetera, around me. They just all excel and thrive on growth.
Yeah, we can't do it all as much as we might like to, right?
Yeah, not anymore.
So we know in 35 years, man, plenty of ups and downs. Dan, when you guys run into those challenging times, is there any kind of mantra that you say to yourself or share with your team to kind of push through it?
Yeah, absolutely. Our mantra here at PCS Technologies is we get stuff done. We roll up our sleeves and just get things done. One of the things that's made us really successful is we're not afraid to take on challenges and take on projects that maybe other firms would steer away from. And we do that in order to build our credibility and build relationships with our potential new managed service clients. And it's really helped us be really successful.
Yeah, I love that, man. Now, I know when we had connected for the pre-interview, one of the things you shared with me was, for a long time you were happy in your business. It was more of a lifestyle business, if I remember correctly. And then about 10 years ago, you decided to really start focusing on growth. I'm curious, what drove you to do this, and what did you start to focus on to drive growth?
Well, we were always fairly successful, and on my own, I could only get the business to a certain level. And then we'd hit the ceiling on being able to generate more revenue. We would lose a couple customers and over time gain them back. And it was kind of a roller coaster on adding revenue and increasing profitability.
Yeah.
So about 10 years ago, I was invited to a road show by Robin Robbins, who's a big person in our space, the managed service community. And I was hooked right away. I love the community. I love the peers. And I joined her Producers Club group and really just excelled at learning all the new ways to sell managed services, to market ourselves, and to build a good team.
Yeah. So at that time, were you still were you heavily involved on the marketing side of things?
Yes. I had just gotten out of being a tech. Okay. After 20 years of running around fixing servers, tearing apart server rooms, I finally got myself out of that role because we hired a couple of really good senior engineers, and I was able to make that move. And once I did that, I've always been the sales manager, marketing coordinator, appointment setter, played, wore every hat. And then really building structure and a process around that is what started to happen when I met Robin Robbins.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, kudos to you for doing that. Cause I think it's, when marketing sales are not our primary skill sets, man, it's really hard to manage that kind of stuff unless you get help, right? And to level up those skills and become more comfortable with it. And I think, especially early on, it's really hard to just say you're going to outsource everything without having a general base of knowledge that you can work from. So I think you made a huge right step there in doing that. And you're, to this day, are you still involved in managing and overseeing marketing?
I am.
Yeah. Okay.
One of the goals for this year, probably towards the end of this year, is to hire a professional sales and marketing manager to get me out of some of those boxes. But and to be honest, after doing this for 10 straight years, I'm getting a little worn out and
Yeah.
really need to focus on the vision of PCS, and also I'm the closer. So having someone, be able to bring me more leads, et cetera, and work with the team in this area is going to really take us to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned, driving sales, because I know you made the choice to build through owner-led sales. And I know in the MSP space, there are a lot of MSPs that, they're trying to get themselves out of sales, and they do it as quickly as they can. But you made that strategic choice to not do that. Um, I'm curious why, and what's helping you become a more effective salesperson.
I got to admit, it's been one of the hardest things I've ever done, is really change, that hat from being a technical resource to being the sales guy. And so I think what we tried everything. We tried at a low cost, hiring an in-house salesperson, an appointment setter, a marketing coordinator. We outsourced marketing and lead generation to 3 different firms, and really did not generate anything that would have the ROI we were looking for. So, working with our accountability group and my other peers across the country, we made a conscious decision to really go after our niche marketing.
Yeah.
And once we did that, things really started to grow for us. Our niche is nonprofit space. I joined a board for one of the oldest nonprofits in the San Francisco area, and became a leader on that board. I was a 3-term president due to COVID, and really started networking at a higher level. At the same time, we also started sponsoring a few gala events and being seen out in the community by other executive directors, other nonprofits, and really building that network.
I want to. You said something about once you decided to focus on niche marketing, things really started to take off. And selfishly, I want to highlight that because I talk about this all the time on the marketing side, and so many business owners are they're scared to make that jump. And I think the thing that's important, like, nonprofits are not the only types of clients you work with, but you've chosen to focus your marketing efforts on them. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Huge distinction, right? Because a lot of people feel like, oh, if I niche, then I'm not going to do business with anybody else. It's not necessarily the case. But when you chose to do that, you just touched on some of the things that you did to get in front of nonprofits, right? And
Exactly.
when you did that, the activities that you did from a marketing standpoint became much more targeted. Rather than go into a general networking event hoping that you're going to talk to somebody there, you join a nonprofit as part of the board, right? You really get to understand some of the challenges that they deal with. You go to nonprofit functions. Well, the people that are there are either going to be people that serve nonprofits, or they are nonprofit, right?
Absolutely.
So you're really fishing where the fish are. Do you remember it sounds like that focus of niche marketing came from some of your peer groups and other peers that you network with. Do you remember specifically how that came up?
Yeah, the first day at Robin Robbins when we joined Producers Club and went to a Producers Club meeting, it was building out your niche.
Yeah,
And we were one of the few companies, there were probably several hundred there, that had a niche or had an idea for a niche. And we really embraced it and really started focusing our marketing efforts at it. And now I'm happy to say we have almost 50 nonprofit customers, and that's growing from beyond the Bay Area into a national level at this point.
yeah. Do you remember how long it took you to start to see some traction in the niche once you decided to focus on it?
It was immediate. You know, we were doing bulky mailer campaigns and kind of the old school marketing, and we got a good response right away. Just a company that understands the language of a
Yeah,
nonprofit, how they get their funding, how we price them. Our nonprofits are well funded
yeah,
and need technology and need to be protected from cybersecurity threats. So it really just took off immediately once, and we do other niches now,
yeah,
and I see the growth in those areas as well.
yeah. I love it. I appreciate you sharing that. And I just for people watching or listening, I mean, it doesn't always happen immediate, but it does happen when you choose to start focusing your efforts, and um, the efforts become much more effective because they are focused, right? One of my mentors always talked about specificity sells, right? The more specific we can be with our marketing, the more effective it's going to be. And you touched on it, Dan, where like just the terms you use, the language that they use, you are now able to use in your messaging, and that makes it resonate so much
I think
better.
the key, Tim, was it changed our status as being a board president.
Hmm.
Now I'm on the board for the San Francisco Giants Community Fund. And when you're talking to nonprofits and you share your story of the work you do in the community, and right now we support 35,000 kids playing junior giants and things like that.
Yeah,
There's an immediate connection at a higher level, and that was the game changer for us, where they knew I was speaking their language and became a very trusted advisor pretty rapidly in this space.
yeah. And when we talk to clients about focusing on who their ideal clients are, one of the aspects of that is what we call an ideal client GPS, which is just a list of all the places that your ideal clients are. And in your case, for example, when we look at nonprofits, it becomes so much easier to identify where nonprofits are than if you're saying where are small businesses, right? You get much better answers because they're more specific. Where do nonprofits congregate? What kind of trade shows or conferences do they go to? What types of other vendors support the nonprofit space? Where are there podcasts they listen to, YouTube channels they watch, all of these things. When we get specific, man, the output we get is really, really strong. And then you've got this list of, okay, I'm not going to be all of these places. That's impossible. But where am I going to start to
Well, with
dip my
us,
toe in the water?
yeah, with us, it's my thing is constantly learning. So I'm listening to audible books constantly. I travel 4 or 5 times a year to my peer group meetings and other IT type sessions. And in that process, I really understand my market. So I know there are 3,278 nonprofits in the San Francisco Bay Area. There are 62,000 businesses in my sweet spot of 50 to 150 users in the San Francisco Bay Area. So there's a lot of opportunity out there. And
Say that
so
again one more time. Your ideal nonprofit. How many are there in San Francisco Bay Area?
3,278.
Okay. Um, I want to point this out because this is this. Thank you for bringing this up. 3,000. Okay. Most people, when we start talking about niching and focusing, think they're going to lose business. When in reality, if there's 3,000 of those in there, how many new clients are you looking for in a given year? I mean, most MSPs would be stoked if they were getting a new client a month.
Right.
12 out of 3,000. Okay. I mean,
the initial goal is to get 10% of that market
there you go.
space. And right now, I don't know what percentage we're at, but we're about 50 out
Yeah.
of the 300 we need. So there's a lot of opportunity for sure.
Tons there. So even if you may not have to narrow geographically, but even narrowing geographically into a very specific industry vertical, there's still plenty of opportunity in the vast majority of markets. So, yeah, you know the market because you've spent the time to do it, and it gives you a huge advantage, I think. We're still going down this marketing path. You touched a little bit on your marketing journey. One of the things you mentioned to me was that you've tried to hire in-house multiple times, and now you're working with an agency. Tell me more about that. Like, what kind of challenges did you have hiring in-house?
I think a big part of it was I wasn't able to focus and manage the in-house resources. At the time, I was still running finance, and I was in many boxes, project,
Yeah.
service, sales, and it was just impossible to focus on the sales and marketing and business development. Since then, in the last several years, we've implemented Traction, which is EOS, and the EOS is our operating system of our business. And it allowed me to get out of a lot of those boxes and elevate other staff members so I could really focus on business development. But what I've learned is, we outsource our marketing to a local firm here in San Francisco that really understands our market. They understand our niche. So rather than having a single marketing coordinator and an appointment setter, I actually have a team of people managing email campaigns, drip marketing, events, SEO. And I have in that team a marketing manager that I meet with on a regular basis. And then I have other resources, design, and ability to produce swag and all those areas that just one person would be overwhelmed with or not have all those right skill sets. So it's similar to outsourcing your IT. You get a team of professionals instead of one. So that was one of the best moves I made, was hiring Spritz SF here in San Francisco. But then also it's just generating multiple gears to generate leads. So we have multiple marketing gears in place where we generate leads. And if we only had one or two, we would be struggling.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the analogies I always use is like riding a unicycle. Most businesses are all their businesses coming through referral or word of mouth. And if the tire goes flat on that unicycle, like, you're not going anywhere. But if you're doing referrals and you're generating leads through 2-3 other channels, well, then you're on a 3-wheeler or a 4-wheeler. And, if the tire goes flat, you're still going to get there. It might take you a little bit longer than you expected, but you're not as dependent on any one marketing channel. And that's a much more stable and consistent, reliable place to be. So thank you for bringing that up. So what's next? I mean, what are your goals moving forward?
Well, I'm happy to say pretty blessed that we reached our last 3-year goal within 2.5 years. So we've hit our 3-year goal the first 6 months of 2024. And so having that said, and looking at all the opportunities that we've been coming across, working with a couple other partnerships with high-end security, cybersecurity compliance as a service, and really dialing in a whole new line of business. And I feel very comfortable now that I've been working on this for about 3 years, that we're launching a new line of business where we could service companies across the nation to help them become compliant. So we launched compliance as a service this year, and it's been really successful in helping nonprofits become HIPAA compliant, helping attorneys become SOC 2 compliant. We're finding that our customers are having are being held to a higher level of compliance by their clients. And so this is a really big part of IT these days. So we've dialed that in, and I really know how to sell it now, which is a huge step in the right direction. But we can also deliver on it now. So in 2025, we've already rolled it out in 2024 at a small scale. We're really launching this on a national scale in 2025. So my goal is to double the business again in the next 2.5, 3 years.
I love it, man. Awesome. So I want to ask you one last question before we wrap things up. Knowing what you know now, is there anything you would do differently?
I would have started this earlier. I would have got out of the service 5, 10 years earlier and really started building a team and growing the business earlier. I couldn't imagine where we would be today if I would have kind of got out of the rut of being a tech and started to really looking at working on the business instead of in the business. And I actually enjoy it more. Being the visionary for PCS is something I love doing. I have 20 ideas a day. Maybe only one is any good, but we work through that process, and then I got really good at what I do. So why would I quit now, right? So I'm loving doing my role, and as long as we're having fun and growing the business and growing people, we're going to keep at it.
And as part of EOS, you had mentioned you're the visionary. Typically you'll hire an integrator type person. Do you have a COO that you hired as part of that process, or what does that look like?
It's an amazing story. My COO integrator is actually my wife, Samantha. Okay. And we've been married now 18 years. And she's fantastic at kind of the day-to-day operations. She doesn't want to be client facing and do sales or anything like that, but she's really good with the HR part of our team, building the culture, and taking the reins of kind of running the level 10 meetings in all these different areas of the business. And the beauty of it is who could I trust more in managing finance? And, that was a hard one to step out of. But now that Samantha's my integrator, it's taken us to the next level.
Yeah. How many team members do you have?
Currently, we just added our 25th member. So we've added 5 people this year already.
Yeah. I like to ask that sometimes, because it gives people kind of an idea, because sometimes people think like, oh, I'm too small to do that. And I think no matter how small you are, there are always opportunities to put systems or people in place that can help slowly take you out of the things that you need to get out of. It doesn't always have to be a full-time hire either. So, I appreciate you sharing that, because you're big enough at this point where it makes sense for you to do that. But, at the same time, 10 years ago, when you made the choice to start investing in marketing, how many people did you have at that point? 10?
Probably 8 or 9.
Yeah.
But it's fake it till you make it, right? We always came across as a professional firm, a high level service, immediate response. And, we continue that, and that's kind of the culture here at PCS. People want to be elevated and grow. The reason why we have almost no turnover in technology staff is because they have growth opportunities here, and that drives the staff to want to stick around.
Yeah. It's awesome, Dan. I really appreciate you taking the time, man. You dropped some really good stuff today. Where can people learn more about you?
Just at our website, pcs-sf.com. You can find me by sending an email to the contact form there, and I'll reach out right away and love to have any conversations around supporting not only IT, but any cybersecurity concerns and compliance issues that you may be facing.
Awesome. I appreciate it. So pcs-sf.com. We'll make sure that gets in the show notes as well. Dan, thank you again. And those of you that are watching, listening, thank you. If you want to connect with us, you can do that over at rialtomarketing.com. It's RIALTO marketing.com. If you want to know which of the 9 revenue roadblocks are slowing down your growth, you can find that out over at revenueroadblockscorecard.com. It takes less than 5 minutes, get a customized report, and you start removing those roadblocks so that you can grow. So, Dan, thank you again. Audience, thank you. And until next time, take care.